Is this what you get from a middle school grad? LOL, it's practically garbage. LOL, this could make us look like our language skills are subpar. Smith said, throwing those words at me instead of thanking me for cleaning up the mess. In the silent meeting room, only Williams, Smith's favorite, laughed. We're always troubled by you. LOL, there are so many expressions that never get corrected no matter how many times we point them out. Having only years of service without changing the way we've worked up till now makes it difficult. If you can't do decent work and just get by with help from others on tasks anyone could do, you're really dead weight. Watching Smith throw the documents on the floor, something inside me cooled off. Understood. As I stood up with something in my hand, I could see the pale faces of the surrounding employees. Without caring that it was in the middle of the meeting, I stood in front of the director and slammed down the resignation letter I had prepared. I'll be excusing myself as a burden after today. With a bow, I left the meeting room. This marked the beginning of a tragedy for Smith. My name is Jack, and I'm 42 years old. I work as a department manager in the General Affairs Department of Triangle Trading Corporation, a general trading company. My job mainly involves what's called clerical work. The General Affairs Department of a trading company not only serves as a liaison within the company, but also deals extensively with overseas branches and clients. International clerical work, including translation, interpretation, and import-export procedures, as well as supporting the connection between overseas and domestic branches, is an important task. The reason I ended up in this job for over 20 years is truly by chance. Until middle school, due to my father's job, I lived abroad for extended periods. With a strong curiosity and the absorbent mind of a child, I naturally acquired multiple languages, including English and Chinese. That's because we moved from one country to another, such as the United States and China. It was a joy to be able to communicate with various people locally. For me, who believed that this overseas lifestyle would continue, it was a crucial skill directly related to my future path. However, everything changed abruptly when I was in the 9th grade. My father fell ill suddenly. While supporting my father, who had quit his job to start a recovery period, my mother decided to take me and my younger siblings back to Japan, and immediately began looking for a job there. I had always enjoyed learning and had taken it for granted that I would naturally proceed to high school. But with only my mother's salary, our family's finances were tight. Struggling with my father's medical expenses and the educational costs for my brothers and me, as expenses kept piling up. Gradually, as the eldest son, the desire to support my parents grew stronger, and I finally decided to give up on further education and find a job. My homeroom teacher, who had taken great care of me since I had transferred to a middle school in Japan not long ago, also enthusiastically supported me in finding employment. Though the job hunting period was short and it was tough to find employment, I was introduced to a position at Triangle Trading Corporation as a candidate for a full-time employee, starting as a part-timer. As a returnee, I started as an office part-timer leveraging my language skills. And by the following year, I was employed as a full-time employee, leading to my current position. Now, I am fully entrusted with English and Chinese documents. And local staff also tell me I'm the most reliable translator they have. My colleagues are all highly educated elites. However, thanks to Brown, the head of the General Affairs Department, who evaluates us regardless of educational background, I am able to enjoy my work every day. But this spring, he, whom I had been under the care of for a long time, decided to retire early at the age of 54 to pursue his dream of starting his own business. I've known Brown since before he had a position with a title, and he's always shown me a lot of kindness. So, it feels particularly sad to see him go. However, seeing him continue to chase the dream he's always talked about only deepens my respect for him. It's sad that we won't be working together anymore, but I'm rooting for you. Thank you. I'd be happy if we could work together again someday. I need to get my company up and running so I can headhunt someone talented like you. With that joke, Brown left the company. With the new fiscal year, new personnel transfers brought fresh faces to the General Affairs Department, including Director Smith, Brown's successor. I plan to focus on developing talent to make the General Affairs Department an even more global and excellent group. Those who were coddled by my predecessor should brace themselves for strict guidance. This stern greeting from Smith sent a wave of unease through the department. Rumors have it that he and his predecessor, Brown, were hired at the same time. It seems true that he harbored some resentment towards Brown, who was a standout, having graduated from a prestigious foreign university. Following Smith's introduction, everyone in the department took turns introducing themselves, including the new young employees who had just joined the General Affairs Department due to the personnel reshuffle. "I'm Williams. I came from the sales department, nice to meet you all." With his energetic greeting, the 28-year-old Williams, a vibrant and refreshing young man, brought a burst of energy. Smith, breaking away from his previous stern demeanor, placed a hand on Williams's shoulder with a smile. It was immediately clear from his manner that Williams was highly anticipated. Williams, who was transferred here through the personnel reshuffle, seems to be from the same school as me. Let's all support this talented young man. I hear he's going to be part of Jack's team. Yes, I'm looking forward to working with you. Hearing my name called, I responded and bowed my head. Then, I could tell that Smith's face twisted for a moment when he saw me. "So you're Jack. I've heard about you. You've been selected to handle our new overseas branch, haven't you? Do your best." The words thrown at me clearly did not convey a good impression. While responding, I couldn't help feeling anxious about what lay ahead. Unfortunately, my anxiety would prove to be well-founded. Following Smith's arrival, the atmosphere in the department worsened day by day. From his daily words and actions, it was clear that Smith had a mindset unsuitable for a managerial position, including favoritism towards certain subordinates. A significant educational elitist. He would praise employees like Williams, who had a high educational background, while making remarks that belittled employees with other backgrounds. Even the quality of work seemed to be judged entirely based on educational background, which often didn't equate to a fair evaluation. Typical Williams. It seems employees with lower education also have lower work standards. No matter how much overseas experience one has, it means nothing if you're not smart from the get-go. Smith, an elite who graduated from a prestigious international college, often indirectly boasted about such things. However, perhaps due to a complex about having no overseas experience, he frequently attacked employees with high linguistic abilities by comparing academic credentials. Observing Smith's work, it appeared that his practical English skills were not particularly high. In a department where many employees were multilingual, his lack of proficiency in Chinese and other languages was unusual. Yet, as if he was looking for something to criticize, he always had corrections or notes for the materials prepared by employees responsible for overseas branches. It was clear that the long-standing employees in the department were not pleased internally. "Hey, did you create this document, Jack?" One day, Smith bluntly asked me this after calling me over. "Yes." "Is there a problem? This expression is incorrect. Do you think it's okay to use translations that sound like middle school English?" I reviewed the pointed out section, but couldn't find any mistakes. It was one of the idioms I often use. "No, this is a commonly used expression locally, and there hasn't been any issue with it so far." Talking back. "With only this level of English, which university did you go to?" "No, I didn't go to college." "I am." Before I could finish, Williams, who had been listening, laughed over my words. "Director, that's a bit harsh. Jack didn't even finish high school." I don't know who told him, but Williams, as if he had caught a demon by the tail, directed a malicious grin at me, his supervisor. A middle school grad. I had no idea we had someone like that in our company. But that explains the level, I suppose. Smith laughed through his nose and tossed the document he was holding to Williams. "Williams, please correct this middle school grad's English." The moment I heard those words, I felt my blood boil. But before I could speak up, my colleagues and subordinates around us who had been watching the exchange raised their voices in protest. "That's too harsh. We'll have you know that Jack's English proficiency is top-notch in this department, you know." "That's right. Education doesn't matter. Besides, it's not wise to entrust this to Williams, who has the least experience in the department. A middle school grad being top in English proficiency. Impossible. Education is meaningful because it's recognized socially. Is the level of this department so low that you can't even understand that?" The argument made the atmosphere in the department the worst it could be. "Everyone, thank you. It's nice to hear that from all of you who are excellent. But, it's true I don't have formal education. If Smith wishes, I'll learn from Williams as well." I accepted Smith's point and calmed my colleagues and subordinates, somehow managing to defuse the situation. However, such incidents kept recurring, and Smith, citing my lack of formal education, frequently doubted my work. I'm a bit uneasy about Jack's translations. Williams, could you please check this document for any mistakes? Understood. Leave it to me. Such exchanges became a routine occurrence. Williams, as my subordinate, refused to accept any guidance from me. Smith seemed pleased, but every time he or Williams interfered, the quality of the translations clearly deteriorated. To top it all off, the director made an outrageous demand. From now on, Jack will have Williams check his documents before submission. Also, I'll take over the new overseas branch project myself. What do you mean by that? Just what I said. That project is too much for you. I'm saying you should start with menial tasks suited to a middle school grad level and gain experience from there. Having worked since my teens, I'm actually one of the most experienced employees in the department. Yet, despite this, Smith has repeatedly said that as a middle school grad, I should make up for it with experience. Thus, I was forcibly removed from the responsibilities that I had been directly appointed to by Brown, instead burdened with tedious paperwork and menial tasks. However, due to the lack of a proper handover when the tasks were taken away, problems soon arose within the operations I had been managing. It's a mess. We've received several inquiries from the new overseas branch. When I arrived at work, one of my subordinates, pale-faced, was reporting this to Smith. What's the issue? There were inaccuracies in the procedures related to imports and exports. We've also received messages from the local staff that the schedule and budget are different from what was previously discussed. And then there's the subordinate, who had been reporting confidently until then, suddenly seemed hesitant. Out with it, report properly. Well, there have been many mistakes in the document's wording and translations. And we've been reprimanded for silently changing the person in charge. At those words, Smith's face turned bright red. He was trembling but, surprisingly, did not yell. Regaining his composure quickly, he turned back to me. This was your responsibility, wasn't it? There's been a mistake in the documents, what's going on? Not just me, but the subordinate who had been reporting was also surprised. But, Director, you said you would take charge of this project yourself, didn't you? Are you trying to make excuses now? Blaming your superior, what a lack of responsibility for your duties. Stunned by his absurd argument, I tried to respond. Wait, please. Silence. I'm not interested in the opinion of a middle school grad. Just do as I told you. Correct the mistake immediately and make sure to apologize properly. Smith said this, refusing to listen and brazenly shifting the blame for his mistake onto me. Afterwards, as I scrambled to resolve the situation, there were endless questions from those around me. Jack is competent, and everyone knows he's not someone who would make such mistakes. What Smith did this time is too much. Having forcibly removed him from his duties only to leave him to clean up the mess. I feel really bad for Jack. Saying this, everyone offered to help with the work. However, seeing this, Smith flew into a rage. I did not authorize anyone to support Jack's work. It won't benefit him at all. Assisting him is strictly prohibited. Why? It's only natural to help out with the manager's work as part of the same team. With the generous support from everyone around you. If you can only work properly with that, it's not enough. If you don't have a degree, you have to cover it with experience. It's only natural that Jack works harder than anyone else. Being forced into such unreasonable logic, I was no longer able to receive support from those around me. In addition to my regular duties, I was burdened with menial tasks by Smith. And days were spent chasing after issues related to the new branch. Working late into the night, I tried my best not to let the quality of each task drop. On one such overtime-filled night, alone in the office continuing my work as usual, my cell phone rang. The screen displayed Brown's name. Rushing to answer, I was greeted by his calm voice. It's been a while. How are you doing? Would you like to have dinner together sometime? A voice I took for granted until half a year ago now felt nostalgic. Worn out, I felt a rush of relief and teared up upon hearing it. Brown. It's been a while. I'm sorry, I can't seem to finish my work. Once my current tasks are done, I would love to join you. Hearing my voice, Brown sounded concerned. That's unusual. You always work ahead of schedule. Is something wrong? At first, I tried to be vague in my response, but Brown, sharp as ever, wasn't easily fooled. As we talked, I began to share bits of what I could about my situation. How I wasn't receiving fair evaluations from the new director. And how mistakes were being blamed on me. Lately, I've been working tirelessly, sparing little time for sleep. Hearing this, Brown unusually flew into a rage. To treat someone as competent as you like that. What are they thinking? Thank you. Even if it's just flattery, it's comforting to hear that from you, Brown. I couldn't help but laugh at the sight of him being more upset on my behalf. No, I mean it. Actually, I called today because my startup is beginning to take off. And I was hoping to discuss the possibility of scouting you over a meal. To your company. I blurted out in shock at the unexpected offer. Are you that surprised? I said when I retired that I wanted to work with you again. Well, it might be a bit underhanded to tell you this now. I had thought it was just a joke, but I was more than happy to find out that Brown seriously wanted to work with me again. If things don't get better, leaving to join us is one option. I get that you love your current job, so if you could, take your time to think it over. Brown said, ending the call. Realizing there were other options thanks to that talk, I felt more at ease. For now, I was determined to focus on completing my current tasks. Days later, I finally started to see a solution to the issues at the new site, and my workload began to calm down. After continuous overtime and nearing physical exhaustion, I thought about taking a break after surviving today's meeting. At the start of the meeting, with everyone present, we went through the reports from each section. It was my turn, and I presented the most recent documents detailing the issues resolved and the progress made in the last month. I'm internally relieved to report that we're somehow managing to catch up with the significant delays in the schedule. Due to the time difference, the meeting set up late last night enabled us to coordinate with the local staff overseas. I worked through the night, sparing no time for sleep, to incorporate the latest updates into the documents. Seeing the relieved faces of the meeting attendees made me feel it was worth it. That concludes the most up-to-date information on the new branch. Please refer to the documents for details. Smith was the only one among the attendees who did not relax his expression during my presentation. After briefly reviewing the materials I had worked hard on, he made a shocking remark right off the bat. Is this the work of a middle school grad? It's practically trash. This could make us look like we have a low level of language proficiency. Far from being grateful for my cleanup work, it was a harsh way to put it. In the silent meeting room, only Williams laughed in agreement with Smith. We're always troubled by you. Many expressions never get corrected no matter how often they're pointed out. With nothing but years of service under your belt, you probably can't change the way you've always worked. If you can't do a proper job and just scrape by with help from everyone doing tasks anyone could do, you're truly dead weight. Seeing Smith toss the documents on the floor, something inside me cooled off. I understand. I stood up, emotionlessly pulling something out of my pocket. Seeing what I held in my hand, the faces of the employees around turned ashen. They looked at me in panic, but I didn't care and walked towards the director. Despite the meeting still going on, I stood in front of the director and slammed down the resignation letter I had prepared. The dead weight will be excusing himself as of today. With a nod, I left the conference room. Ignoring any attempts to stop me, I walked out of the company. I immediately grabbed my cell phone and called someone. Hello. Is that you, Jack? What's going on so early in the morning? Sorry, Brown. Due to some reasons, I've just submitted my resignation at Triangle Trading. Brown choked up with a worried tone, clearly shocked by the sudden news. I know it's presumptuous to ask, but could I interview at your company, Brown? Really? Brown was happy with my proposal and readily agreed with it. Yes. I don't know the details. But it must have been tough, right? It might be insensitive to say I'm glad, but our doors are always open for you. Brown said, kindly showing concern for me. After expressing my heartfelt thanks, we agreed to meet face-to-face in a few days and ended the call. Finally taking a breather, I took a deep breath, contemplating my future. I decided to make my last day at Triangle Trading 2 weeks from resigning, planning to use up my accrued paid time off until then. My body, exhausted from the overwork, was screaming for rest. Yet, from the next day on, I was bombarded with calls from colleagues and subordinates in my department, all seeking my help. Please, Jack, come back. We can't handle it on our own. Smith is still dumping his work on us as usual. Please. There are many tasks only you understand. Can you lend us your wisdom on how to proceed with this project? With that, I couldn't turn my back on my troubled colleagues who kept calling about various work-related issues. So I taught them everything I could over the phone, offering as much support as possible. Having held a grudge for being repeatedly called a burden by Smith, I had no intention of providing a thorough handover. However, knowing that those working on the ground were struggling, I did the bare minimum from home over several days. I realized that there were surprisingly many intricate tasks that only I, with the longest tenure in the department, knew how to handle. Smooth communication is crucial in the administrative department. Not many have had face-to-face conversations with all the contacts from our various domestic and international branches. It turns out my long-built good relationships and experience were more valuable than I thought. While our department was rich in personnel proficient in English and other European languages, we were lacking in expertise in Asian languages, which was also a problem. Most of the Chinese translation and document preparation was my job, as I was the most proficient in Chinese, and there wasn't yet someone who could fully take over. Because of this, it seems not only the work related to the new overseas branches I was mainly in charge of, but also multiple lines of work have stalled. We're getting several inquiries, especially from the branches in the US and China. They say you would know how to handle it as usual and are struggling. Please, come back. My subordinate lamented, repeatedly trying to stop my resignation. Hearing such words, I felt a pang in my heart but declined each request politely. I'm sorry for the trouble. But, I have no intention of returning. My decision to resign was firm, and there was only so much I could do for them. A few days later, after wrapping up my handover at Triangle Trading, I headed to Brown's company, which would be my new place of employment. It's a small trading company with just over a dozen employees, but I've heard their sales are doing well. After receiving details from Brown, I dressed in a suit, intending to attend an interview. Interview? No, that's not necessary. I'm aware of your capabilities, and we've already prepared a managerial position for you. Brown said with a smile upon meeting me. Manager, you say? It's still a small company. I actually thought about offering you a director position. But I figured you might feel uncomfortable. Don't worry about the title, I want you to work freely at first. With that, he gave me a tour of the workplace. Brown started the business a few years ago with friends and colleagues met through work and other connections, gradually expanding the business while still employed elsewhere. He resigned when it became too difficult to manage both jobs, and now the business seems to be on the right track, doing well. The workplace atmosphere was very welcoming, and everyone readily accepted me. Because it's a small company, there's a flat relationship structure, and a solid cooperative relationship has been built throughout. Everyone handling a wide range of tasks was also impressive. My expectations for a workplace where I could work with discretion and anticipate growth are rising. Deciding to use the rest of my vacation to visit the new workplace several times, I began to actively learn the job. Then, one day, while I was getting accustomed to my new role, I kept receiving calls from the same number. Skeptical of the unknown number but considering it might be an emergency, I hesitantly answered after several rings. Finally, you picked up. You're late, Jack. Hearing that voice, I couldn't help but respond. Smith. Why? What do you mean why? You're the kind of person who causes trouble for the company whether you're here or not. Even without the speaker on, the loud tirade was audible to those around me. Naturally, their continued harsh words made me grimace. The people around me cast sympathetic glances my way. Leaving is fine. But how about doing a proper handover? I did provide the necessary handover to the colleagues who contacted me. Is there a problem? What about the new overseas branch? It's untouched. I, who took over, am having a hard time cleaning up after you. The irony is that I was the one cleaning up after Smith. The real problem seems to be that he, having briefly taken over, lacks a comprehensive understanding of the duties requiring a meticulous handover. It's clear that Smith is only interested in achievements, with no intention of doing any real work. So, I'm the burden who doesn't do any real work, right? Then, why do I need to bother with handing over to you? Stop spouting nonsense. Handover is a duty of a professional. Don't you even understand that? At the unreasonable shouting, I instinctively pulled away from the receiver. Thinking any more would disturb those around me, I apologized to my new colleagues and tried to leave. But I was stopped by Brown. If you apologize now, I'll allow you to come back. After all, quitting a job over a moment's emotion, what are you going to do? At your age, there won't be many places willing to hire you. A mocking laugh echoed from the receiver, biting my lip in frustration. Then, Brown took the mobile phone from my hand and quietly began to speak. It seems you're still causing trouble for those around you, Smith. Unfortunately, Jack won't be returning to your side. Is that voice Brown? Smith was surprised to hear Brown's voice and quickly showed his hostility. It's always you causing trouble. I thought I was finally rid of an annoying peer when you left the company. Why show up now of all times? I never intended to get in your way, Smith. There's no reason for me to do that. No reason, you say. Brown casually dismissed the desperately raging Smith. He must have gotten used to being dogged by him over the years. Smith, being ignored, seemed pitiful. I started my own company after resigning. It's decided that we'll be welcoming Jack to our team. You're the president. Taking someone like Jack, what are you planning? Thanks to you not recognizing his excellence, our company has been able to gain a strong ally. I really should thank you. Well, that's how it is, so please resolve your troubles over there. Saying that, he ignored Smith's yelling and hung up the phone. Handing the mobile phone back to me, Brown smiled. You handled being treated like that quite well. If you ever have any trouble with Smith in the future, don't hesitate to rely on me. I know how to deal with him, given our long acquaintance. I bowed my head at his reassuring words. Thank you so much for everything. And I apologize to everyone here for the inconvenience. The employees, who had been looking on worriedly, relaxed into relieved smiles and responded warmly. Finally, the day of my resignation arrived, and I headed to Triangle Trading for one last time. The department seemed even busier than it was 2 weeks ago. The absence of someone to bridge multiple cross-departmental interactions must have had a significant impact. Operations were still not running smoothly, it was evident. Yet, amidst their busyness, everyone responded kindly to my farewell rounds. I'm sorry for calling so many times during your vacation. Your help was invaluable. It's sad to see you go, Jack, but we support you. Don't worry too much about the department, we'll manage. It's regrettable that we couldn't be of more help with Smith. With that, everyone expressed their regret at my departure. By the way, I haven't seen Smith around. Did something happen? When I asked about Smith's absence since morning, everyone's complexion changed. Smith is currently being questioned by the executives. He's under an internal investigation. Internal investigation. As I inquired further, my colleagues exchanged looks, showing confusion. Are you playing dumb? It's because of you that Smith is in this situation, you should know. What do you mean? Truly, you're unaware. There was a whistleblower report from outside the company regarding managerial misconduct. We thought perhaps you had something to do with it. According to the colleagues, the external whistleblower report acted as a catalyst for internal dissatisfaction to surface. Due to multiple voices being raised from within, a formal internal investigation was initiated. Surprised by the story I was hearing for the first time, I instinctively shook my head. No, sorry. It wasn't me. Perhaps. Oh, so you do know something about it. Poor Smith. For a moment, I considered the possibility that Brown might have pointed out the issue. It wouldn't be strange for him to take action, considering the welfare of me and the remaining employees. While I was deep in thought, my colleague sternly rebuked Williams, who was trying to press further. Williams, keep quiet. Anyway, we believe what Jack says. There will likely be an inquiry for you too. Just tell the truth there. After this conversation and finishing my farewell rounds, I was called to the meeting room by an internal announcement around lunchtime. In the room, besides the executives, a lawyer was also present, creating a tense atmosphere. I'm sorry for calling you in suddenly. You might have heard, but there are some questions we'd like to ask about Director Smith's actions and statements. Being a direct subordinate of Smith and having recently submitted my resignation, it seemed necessary for them to hear from me. I spoke frankly about everything. The way work was assigned, credit being taken for others' work, and numerous instances of verbal abuse. In particular, references to educational background were seen as significant harassment issues and were to be thoroughly investigated. Having finished my hectic last day at work, I received a bouquet from my colleagues and left the company, relieved to end on a refreshing note despite everything. However, as I was leaving the entrance, someone called out to me from behind. "Wait, Jack." Turning around in surprise, I saw Smith, red-faced with anger, glaring at me with a stance as if ready to confront me. Behind him, Williams was hiding in Smith's shadow, smirking and looking this way. Mixed with voices trying to stop Smith, Williams seemed to be whispering something in his ear, spurring him on. Fueled by whatever Williams had told him, Smith, now even more incensed, charged towards me. "What on earth did you say? What do you mean? Don't play dumb. Because of someone like you, my career might get tarnished. You must have snitched to the company with all sorts of lies and truths." Smith was yelling at me one-sidedly. Even without hearing it, I could somewhat guess the nature of the story Williams might have shared. I couldn't help but sigh at the two of them, who hadn't even bothered to verify the facts. I didn't do anything like that. But, I was called in for an investigation today and just answered honestly about what has happened so far. I've been harassed terribly for being called a dropout. What's wrong with calling a dropout a dropout? It's the truth, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with that. While it is true that I am a dropout, it's wrong to evaluate someone's work based on that. In fact, neither Smith nor Williams could be said to have high language skills, to put it politely. Even Williams, who had been smiling throughout, seemed to sour at this remark. As the commotion unfolded at the entrance, more and more people began to gather around. However, with his temper flared up, Smith didn't seem to notice and continued to loudly berate me. "Don't get cocky. A dropout like you can't expect better treatment than this company in the future. Don't worry. At my next job, my salary is expected to double." Williams, who had been silent until then, couldn't hold back and stepped forward. "Don't lie. There's no way a dropout could find such a good re-employment opportunity. There are plenty of people who can replace someone like that, right, Smith?" Knowing that I was moving to Brown's company, Smith silently gritted his teeth at this. "If you judge people solely by their education, then every year you'll find someone with the same qualifications. That would mean there's no irreplaceable talent in the company, not just me but Williams and even Smith. Don't lump me in with you. Even if we did the same job, a middle school grad like you wouldn't be valued, don't you get that yet?" Smith's echo-like remarks made the gathered employees grimace. Without saying anything, I just took out my mobile phone from my pocket. The screen showed a blinking light indicating an ongoing call and recording. The call was with the lawyer I had just exchanged contact information with. "Hey, you. What are you doing?" "I'm recording and broadcasting. The tasks and other duties that Smith dumped on me will soon be verified. But I lacked enough evidence to prove verbal abuse as harassment, so this really helps. You. How dare you?" I calmed Smith, who is shaking with anger. "Be mindful of your words. If you're fine with making your situation worse, then by all means." Smith, unable to respond, bites his lip in frustration and glares. Next to him, Williams looks on in despair, realizing his words can't be taken back. I glare back at them both. "Smith and Williams, the rest of the team will handle your responsibilities, so you can accept your punishment without worry." Williams was at a loss for words, dropping to his knees on the spot. Smith, silent, attempted to lunge at me, but was restrained by the arriving police officers. In the evening, as foot traffic began to increase at the entrance, the two were escorted away under everyone's watchful eyes. Later, it was decided that Smith would be terminated. With the absence of the department head, the General Affairs Department faced even greater disarray. After my resignation, work temporarily came to a halt, affecting company operations, including those at overseas locations. Moreover, the delay in response meant we couldn't meet external clients' demands, leading to issues in trust. Despite weeks of desperate efforts by the department, several international clients drifted away due to this incident. I was shocked and informed by a subordinate that the gap I left was far wider than I had anticipated. As a result, Smith, the cause of this situation, was pursued for the responsibility of the losses incurred. Furthermore, the recorded data I submitted became evidence. And the harassment towards the subordinates he had carried out was formally recognized. Smith, who resisted, tried to pin all the blame on Williams, but it didn't go as planned. With testimonies from those around, Williams was added to the list of those disciplined, resulting in a demotion and transfer. For him, who believed and boasted to his peers that he was on an elite career path, this was the harshest outcome. And Smith ended up taking full responsibility, bearing a substantial settlement and becoming unemployed. Afterward, I heard from various sources that he struggled to find new employment and was at a loss. Having started work at a new place, I was gradually getting used to the new work environment. Thanks to Brown's personality, the workplace atmosphere is great, reminiscent of the old General Affairs Department. It's a blessing to be in an environment where efforts are rightfully appreciated. With a desire to repay Brown, I became even more dedicated to my work, beginning to see results and enjoying fulfilling days. Thanks to you, our company's business expansion is moving faster than planned. I'm truly grateful. If I can be of help to Brown, whom I respect, there's nothing more rewarding for me. Sales have been on the rise since I joined, gaining even more momentum. Being able to utilize the connections I made at Triangle Trading for my current job was an unexpected stroke of luck. If things keep going well, we'll have to celebrate your promotion. You're getting ahead of yourself. Brown, who wants me to be his right-hand man now that I've become an executive, always talks about such premature things. The responsibility is significant, but I want to continue to meet those expectations in the future.